Hey, little Bebe. Tried to write you a letter recently. Type you a letter on the computer. I found that I was having a pretty difficult time trying to articulate myself. You know what I'm saying? In that way.
So, I wanted to take some time out to see if I can make a video regarding what it is that I wanted to talk to you about. And that's the importance of a mother and father in a child's life. Right? But to go even further, the importance of a biological mother and father in a child's life. Right? I guess I'll start off in this way. Human beings, we're made up of certain things, namely our blood. Our blood basically is a liquid code full of all sort of triggers and things like that that'll make us act certain ways and do certain things. Right? This code is given to us directly through our biological mothers and fathers. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to dictate your life, but you'll find that it has a way of doing just that. Right? Problem with a lot of people out there who don't know either their biological mothers and biological fathers is that they might have a nature about them to want to do certain things, even destructive things, to themselves. And they don't understand why that is. Because half of their history may well be a mystery to them. Right? For example, a person might want to, just for example, smoke crack. Right? And they have this urge to smoke crack and they don't know why and stuff. They feel like it's just alright and stuff, and maybe it's painful and maybe it's destructive to their life, but they just can't help but want to do it. Right? Imagine, if you will, they did not know either their mother or their father, and they didn't realize that in their epigenetic history there was a circumstance that led to one of their ancestors either smoking crack or being addicted to some sort of drug. And this was passed on through their blood and through their parents, through their grandparents, through their parents' parents. I mean, this goes all the way back, countless generations. Right? So they don't realize that somewhere in their blood is a code that says, hey, you should want to smoke this crack. Right? And that's the reason why it's calling them to do it. I mean, like, smoking crack's it's not usually a good idea. And everybody knows that. But for some reason that they have this calling to do so and this urge to do so. Meanwhile, if they studied their own history, their own lineage, close enough, if they had the opportunity to do so, they might realize that somewhere in their ancestry, drugs was a serious issue for one of their ancestors, and they can go ahead and see what exactly that did to their lives. Chances are their drug addiction kind of ruined their life, it caused strife in their family's lives, and a child who becomes aware of this whole history behind their own blood and why they want to do what they want to do, will understand that maybe that's not the way they want to go. Or maybe they can learn from the mistakes of their ancestors. Right. Not only that, I mean, you have two parents who have been through a lot of experiences, who maybe have a lot to teach you. And of course, they can teach you, and that's going to benefit you as a child. But however, another way that it benefits you is, like I said, it allows you to learn what's happening inside your own blood, why it is you operate the way that you do. Autism, for example. Autism, a lot of people would argue that autism is something that exists when you're born. And to an extent, I would agree with that. Right? Because the triggers are already in your blood for this. Right? You were different. Someone with autism was different since they were born, sure. Might be described as quirky or something like that. However, when environmental factors go ahead and exacerbate this, what you already have, that's not to say that that's a good thing, or that environment has nothing to do with the increased symptoms that are incurred with autism. Right? But the blood is also very important. Because someone with autism is going to find that in their ancestry, in their biological ancestry, you're going to have people who have bipolar. You're going to have people who committed suicide. You're going to have people with drug addictions. You're going to have people who had OCD or this and that and the other. They already had this. So with that knowledge, you can begin to trace back where your affliction comes from, where it stems from. What are the causes to this? How do you learn from this? How can you grow as a person to make sure that whatever ailment that you have or whatever bad habit that you have, you can go ahead and stop it, put a stop to it. Because you know what caused it. Alright? It's very important. to know who your father is, know who your mother is, why they do what they do, where do they come from, who's their mothers, who's their fathers. A lot of us don't have that kind of advantage and stuff, and we have to kind of start from the ground up. Like for me, for example, my grandparents or my paternal grandparents, I don't know who they are at all. Never met them. I can tell you this: my paternal grandfather, he had what would probably be categorized as bipolar. I mean, he was out there nuts. He was addicted to certain chemicals and stuff. Paternal grandmother, she committed suicide. Right, but as far as what else I know about him, I don't know much else. It's never really told about that. Right, and when a child doesn't know their father, doesn't know their mother, they too have to start from the ground up. They have to figure out things basically in the dark. And there's a lot of different variables. You might have a single mother be your mother and stuff, and she might relate to you. Hey, listen, I took you out of that situation. You don't know your father. You don't know your mother because that person was dangerous. Couldn't trust them around you, and that might very well be the case for a lot of people. I mean, we're living in tribulation. But at the same time, if that is the case, you should be able to have to explain to your child for their own benefit. How did you wind up doing? How did you have intercourse with someone who's so dangerous that they cannot be allowed around their own child? How did that come about? Because obviously there was some sort of mistakes that were happening and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like we're not victims out here. If we're victims of anything, is we're victims of making poor decisions. Right? And when that is the case, as a parent, you got to be able to own up to that. Because when you don't own up to it, you're creating mysteries for your child to try and figure out. Putting obstacles in their way, in their path. You're creating blind spots in their vision. And ultimately, it's just going to hinder their development. At the same time, I want to finish up this video, man. I want to finish this up in this way. There's a lot of people out there who I've met before who maybe they don't know their father. I mean, I have people in my family. I'm not going to go ahead and name names, right? Who they don't know their biological father. Maybe they don't know their biological mother, right? And they have like a hostility towards them. For that reason, they think, well, oh, this person up and left me and they don't care about me and stuff, and that's really messed up on their part. And that might be the situation a lot of these times. So they have this built-up hostility. They blame them for a lot of things. If their life has certain problems, well, then they'll go ahead and blame this absent father. They'll blame the absent mother for this. But that right there, that in and of itself, that's a bad idea, right? Because when you break it down, when you really think about it, as a person, as an individual, if you have problems in your life, and you're going to blame your problems that are in your life on somebody else, what I'm asking you to understand is what you're doing is you're giving that person power over your life. And that right there is dangerous. You don't want to give, first of all, a person a power over your life, but more to the point, you don't want to give a stranger who you never met power over your life. It's very disempowering for you. It'll have you running around in circles and stuff, man. There's a lot of people who grew up without, their father or their mother, they might want to find out who that person is. Maybe that person didn't want you around. It's possible. Maybe that person really did want you around. And circumstances just didn't allow for that. Either way, regardless, you could see how it'd be beneficial for you to know this. Know for certain. The reason is because half of your blood is their blood. It truly does dictate half of your personality. Or close to that. You do need to know who they are. And they will have shortcomings. They won't be perfect. It's best to learn from their mistakes. And ultimately, it's best to forgive them when you see that they're not perfect. Because in your forgiveness, there is power. It doesn't just benefit them, it benefits you. Because then you can move on. Then you can move on to bigger and better things. You won't be held up by your disdain for them. Right? You'll love them for who they are. Go ahead and do your own thing. Right? Pave your own way. Right. Lastly, I want to finish with this, man. You might hear a whole bunch of different things about me. Who's to say? Who's to say what you'll hear? Right? I'm a weird individual. I'm very quirky. Very opinionated. But obviously, if you haven't already figured it out, I don't care for nobody. I don't care for nobody the way that I care for you. Nobody on this earth. Period. Ain't nobody closer than me and you. We know each other on a cosmic level. me and you. We're so similar, so it's for this reason that it's important that you know who I am and why I've done the things that I've done. Because you can understand that it really is a pretty accurate window into who you are and why you do the things that you do. Alright? And lastly, I do care about you more than anybody else on this earth, period. The end. And that will never change. But at the same time, you gotta know about me is that I don't care about you or anybody else the way that I care about God. Because the thing is, God gave you to me. God is the source of everything that has benefited my life. All the beautiful things that come into my life, God is responsible for that. And it's for that reason that I have to maintain loyalty to Him above everybody else. And this includes you. You know what I'm saying? For example, God would not allow for me to legally attack your mother or say bad things about your mother. The reason is because she's your mother. If I was to do that and this and try and, gain legal custody over you and things like that, it would be an attack on your mother. And God is not a fan of that. And I know that He's not a fan of that. And in this way, I'm not going to fight over you. I'm merely going to love you like I always did. And I'm going to wait for you. So long as I'm here and people can see me on this earth, I'm going to be waiting for you. It's just what I do. Anyways, I'll holler at y'all. Or I'm going to holler at you, I guess. I mean, it's just for you anyways. I'll holler at you. This is June 3rd, 2016.